Hi everybody. Chapter 6 tonight, Face on the Milk Carton. Last I read, I did 4 and 5 together because they were a little bit shorter, though it turned out to be like a 20-minute video, sorry. Reeve and Janny had a kiss, which was awesome, and now we're going to move into them going to that football game over the weekend. So here we go, Chapter 6. In separate cars, the Johnsons, the Shieldses, and the Sherwoods drove upstate to the football game. Please let me drive, Janny begged her parents. Sara Charlotte's family's letting her drive because she needs highway practice, and Reeve gets to drive the whole way. Reeve had his license an entire year, said her father, and Sara Charlotte's been practicing longer than you have. I've never driven on the highway, said Janny. Please, please, please. This is the perfect day to start. Lots of sunshine, no rain, no ice on the roads, no summer people traffic. All right, said her mother nervously. Certainly not, said her father. Old times, progressive mother, conservative father. Janny waited for the debate to commence and for them to meet in the middle. They would probably let her drive part of the way. Oh, all right, said her father. I keep not wanting to believe you're going to be 16 soon. I don't like that you're 16. Janny giggled and took the keys from her mother's hand. Her parents clicked their seatbelts firmly, as if to say, we're sure going to need them this time. Have faith, said Janny, reproachfully. Take off the parking brake, said her father. I was going to, Daddy. You just didn't give me time. She backed perfectly out of the driveway. Not only did Reeve come out of his door in time to see her drive, but so did his older sister, Lizzie. Lizzie was not one of Janny's favorite people. Lizzie had occasionally babysat for Janny in the past, but not because she liked kids. Lizzie rarely did anything except for the money. Lizzie was supposed to be safely in law school now, being as brilliant there as she had been in Princeton. Janny did not consider Lizzie's absence a loss to the neighborhood. How annoying to see Lizzie home. It would certainly tense Reeve up. Even from the far end of the driveway, Janny could see how straight Lizzie's spine was, how intense her face, how determined her jaw. It seemed unlike Lizzie to come home for a mere football game. Lizzie was opposed to frivolous waste of time. Lizzie was also opposed to Reeve and had been all their lives. But there was a silver lining to this. Reeve would be very eager to go off with Janny. She wanted to wave to Reeve, but was not coordinated enough to change gears, aim the car, miss the curb, and wave at the same time. Reeve did not act if Lizzie had crushed him yet. He leaped around like a demented boy cheerleader, signaling with both arms and screaming syllables she could not hear. Look out for that car up there, said her mother. You're following too closely, said her father. Please, cried her mother, not over 25. They were gripping their seats, their belts, their armrests with white knuckles. How am I doing, said Janny happily. She loved driving, the power of it. Even diluted by her mother and father's panic, power filled her body. She, Janny, controlled destination, speed, passing, radio volume, and stopping time. She felt as if she had been born to drive, as if car designers had molded the driver's seat just for her. She loved checking the rearview mirror and watching the brake lights ahead of her and reading the route numbers on road signs. For Janny, it was a perfect hour and a half. However, Reeve and Sara Charlotte, permitted to drive normal speeds like real drivers, had arrived first. When the Johnsons reached the designated parking lot for the tailgate picnics, Sara Charlotte and Reeve stood on the pavement shouting, "You'll never be able to park it. Jinx, Jinx, try steering, woman." She parked perfectly. So there, she said to her parents. Her mother said, "This is an excellent weight loss program. I'm sure I'm 5 pounds thinner than when I left home." You'll put it all back on eating at your own picnic, said her father, dragging out a leg of lamb, the wine, the wild rice, and the sheet cake with the footballs. All that was just what the Johnsons had brought. Reeve's mother had a ham, and Sara Charlotte's mother had all the classics: potato salad, coleslaw, macaroni salad, and fried chicken. The weather was wonderful, sweater weather. In the shelter of their 3 cars, they ate till forced the rest their stomachs. We'll need a tow lift to get us up from the stadium, joked Janny's father, who had lamb, ham, and fried chicken. Janny's mother played with the aluminum foil, hiding the sheet cake while Lizzie discussed the constitutional law cases she was now analyzing. If Lizzie laughs at my cake, Janny's mother whispered to her. Or at you, Janny murmured back. We'll murder her, breathed Janny's mother. Then we need a lawyer, whispered Janny, and we just have gotten rid of the only one around. They giggled. Mr. Sherwood thought the kids should go away and explore the campus before dessert, thus giving the adults some peace. We're not babies anymore, said Sarah Charlotte irritably, needing our diapers changed and our bottles heated. Nah, but you talk a lot more, said her father, and we like our own conversation without you, okay? I still love you, though, kind of, said Sara Charlotte, made a face claiming the lukewarm parental love meant she deserved her own car, insurance paid, and gas supplied, of course. Uh-huh, said her father dryly. Reeve turned to his sister, grinning. Come on, Lizzie, he teased. They want us kids to leave so they can have a mature conversation. I'm the only one here who will bother with a mature conversation, said Lizzie. They just want to gossip. She took a chicken leg, leaned back, and said to Janny's father, Your turn, Frank. Janny tried to imagine one day calling her friends' parents by their first names, failed, and fled with Reeve and Sara Charlotte. They wandered around the campus, talking about what college would be like if I get in, said Reeve gloomily, and how they yearned to live in dorms and be away from the confining rules of their parents. Janny was lying. College terrified her. There was nothing she wanted less than to live on her own. The harsh glass and steel dorms the freshmen had did not look as if they could ever be home to anybody. They looked like cages of loneliness. Imagine 5,000 freshmen you had never met. Reeve said, My parents and guidance think I should take a postgraduate year, repeat some of my high school subjects to get better grades, then go to college. How humiliating, remarked Sara Charlotte. You're supposed to tell me nobody would notice, said Reeve. Of course they'd notice. It would be like staying back, said Sara Charlotte, who was not sensitive. Jordan Feingold and Linda Lang stayed back in second grade, and I never see them without remembering that. How comforting, said Reeve. Janny wanted to hold his hand, the one whose thumb had drawn itself so lightly down her nose, bumping over her lips and landing on her chin. But she could not tell if Reeve was interested or not. He was full of energy. She and Sara Charlotte were sloths compared to Reeve, stumbling in his wake. They had excellent seats, 6 rows up, left center. Janny mostly watched the cheerleaders who were heavy on gymnastics. They had tiny trampolines and were endlessly catapulting off each other's shoulders. She particularly liked how one tiny cheerleader with flowing golden hair stood on the palms of the boy cheerleader who could hold her easily on one shoulder level. With some ceremony, Mrs. Johnson opened her sheet cake for admiration and cut it to serve during the second quarter. They ate it with their fingers, getting icing all over themselves and licking their fingers clean because nobody had remembered napkins. Let me have another piece, said Reeve, nudging his hip bone into Janny's. You already had 2, she said. I'm cold. Don't move away. He didn't move. She cut another square for him, and something gave her the courage to feed it to him, bite by bite. His lips and tongue touched her fingers with every bite. Neither one of them saw the second half of the game. They were both startled to find it had ended. People were on their feet. Sara Charlotte was saying, We won, you two. You want me to write out the details so you feel like you were here? Sara Charlotte spent the night at Janny's. They rented movies, comedies they had seen before and knew they'd like. Sara Charlotte grilled Janny at great length about Reeve, analyzing the leaf pile and the football game. He loves you, said Sara Charlotte. You don't have to sound so irritable about it, said Janny. I didn't want to be the one left behind. Pete asked the dare out, and here's Reeve literally eating out of your hand. And who's there for me? Nobody. This led to the always pleasant activity of ripping apart the personalities of boys who had displayed no interest in Sara Charlotte. They slept late, and their sole activity in the morning was reading the Sunday comics. Monday morning in Spanish, the teacher passed out information on a winter vacation trip she was chaperoning to Spain. Anybody who wants to go may go, she said. First come, first serve. Oh, let's, breathed Sara Charlotte, nudging Janny. If you have any thoughts on going at all and you don't have a passport, you need to apply immediately, said the teacher. It takes months. You need your birth certificate and another piece of identification to get one. The bank is open today, thought Janny. In English, they got back their corrected essays. Janny got a B. Sweet sense of humor, Mr. Brow wrote, although not what I had in mind. At the top of the page, he had circled Jane, Jayne, Johnstone, adding, Janie, you having an identity crisis? At lunch, Janny got a wrist flick from Reeve and nothing more. She thought, he's not ready, or maybe even thinking about doing anything in public. She wondered what stages you went through to reach the moment when you could speak to each other in front of your friends or refer to each other, admitting, I like him. I thought he was going to ask you out, said Sara Charlotte sadly. Janny, he's so adorable with that moppy hair. He needs a decent haircut, agreed Janny. She didn't commit herself to saying anything more. She opened her lemonade carton. The rest opened their milks. She looked at Jason's milk. There was a different child on the carton. A boy. Nobody mentioned him. Nobody referred to Janny's claim last week to have been a kidnappee. As far as Janny could tell, nobody ever remembered, not even Sara Charlotte. Adair had everybody's attention, having skipped first period class to go to the Motor Vehicle Bureau for her driver's test. Flushed and proud, she displayed her brand new license. Everybody agreed that she was recognizable in the photo, although she was not. Nobody ever was. Adair wanted to show off her driving skills. Everybody, she insisted, had to be passengers in her car or go to the mall in the afternoon. "You coming, Janny?" said Adair, more excited than Adair ever allowed herself to be. Janny had known that Adair's smooth finish, shiny as shellac, was an achievement Adair worked for. But Janny wanted to go to the bank, not to the mall. She said by way of excuse, "I have to call my mother and ask." "Janny, you're still not allowed out by yourself?" teased Jason. "Her mother's the strictest woman on earth," said Sara Charlotte. "How come?" Jason wanted to know. "What terrible history do you have, Jane Johnson?" That is chapter 6. Have a wonderful night. Love you. Goodbye.